The next operator we'll look at is greater than. We can use greater than to filter or to select, let's say, books released after the year 2000, where release year is greater than 2000. So instead of doing a strict equal to 2000, we can now get every book released after 2000. It's relatively straightforward. I won't spend too much time on this, but let's do select star from books where released year is greater than, I don't know, how about 2005? And of course, it's zoomed in too much. It's hard for you to see the whole table printed out like this, but we can see we've got 2016, 12, 13, 10, 14, and 17. Only 6 rows compared to, I think, 19 that are in the table otherwise. So we could use it to do a different sort of comparison with a different column. How about select the star from books? We want the really long books where pages is greater than 500. And we get these 4. My Life in Words, which is made up, 634. Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, 634. Where I'm Calling From is 526. The Circle is 504. So that works great. That's kind of the quick and easy part about using greater than. Now, one side note I want to talk about is, what do you think this evaluates to? If you have any programming experience in another language, JavaScript, Python, something like that, you might have an inkling. If you don't, then don't worry about it, but think about what this might evaluate to. The answer is it evaluates to a number. If I do select, how about 80 greater than 40? Well, we know that that's true, and if you have programming experience, you might expect it to return a Boolean value, true or false. Now, if you've never heard the term Boolean, don't worry, it does not matter. But in fact, what it returns is the number 1. So if something evaluates to true, this would be true. 80 is indeed greater than 40, we get 1. But what if I said is 80 greater than 100? That is not true, aka false, so we get 0. So when we do something like select, let's not do star, let's do title and pages and released year from books. When I do this and I try and filter where pages is greater than 500, let's just do that again, where pages is greater than 500, MySQL is going to go through each one of these and it's going to check pages. What's the result of running 367 greater than 500. And if it gets 0, it does not include that row. And if it gets 1, which is true, then it will include that row. And that's how we end up with these rows, 504, 634, 526, 634. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about null values later in this section, but let's just see what happens when I do something like select 50, or how about just is 1 greater than null? The answer is null. So when we try and do these operations with null, we get some really weird results, but it's not that weird because remember, null represents the lack of a value. So how can we compare a number like 1 to nothingness? So maybe, I guess you could make the case that it should return false or 0, but it makes more sense, in my opinion, that we just get nothing back. You try and compare something to nothing, well, we can't do anything about it. So just know that you'll always get null when we try and make these comparisons with null and some other value. So that's why those books are not included that have null as their pages. And that's it for this video. We've got a bit more to cover with greater than, less than, greater than or equal to in the next.